fanboys and fangirls, what is going on with iOS 15? We're getting a lot of reports that Apple is revamping the software with redesigns after redesigns, and we don't know exactly what they're going to do. So I'm going to take a look at this and break down what we can speculate and assume Apple is doing with iOS 15. Also on today's episodes, it looks like the iPhone 13 was tested by Apple with Touch ID, but don't get your hopes up for at least another few years. Also on today's episode, we have more information on some M1X Macs. The next one on the chopping block is the Mac Mini. I'll explain to you what is being said and what you could expect from the new Mac Mini. And lastly, a 9th generation iPad is in the work with a brand new redesign and even more features. All of that on today's episode, so stay tuned. Alrighty, story number one, the main story. Let's talk about iOS 15. Now, as you know, iOS 15 has proven to be a kind of a disappointing software update, at least from the face of what fans are saying when it was first revealed. A lot of emphasis were not really on redesign. A lot of people were disappointed. A lot of people felt it was boring. It didn't offer anything new. It didn't really have that pizzazz. I guess that's the way you want to angle it. But it looks like there's more to the story because according to several outlets, Apple for the past few betas have been revamping iOS 15. It started with the weather app, then Safari, then app icons, even the calendar app. Everything in iOS 15 has seen a revamp and overhaul in design. And it begs the question, what is Apple doing with iOS 15? Well, after reading the story and looking at the information, I was able to gather my own information. The first thing that I think Apple is doing is they are listening. They've realized that a lot of people were disappointed and they also don't probably like what they were going to do with iOS 15. And probably felt that with the betas, they felt they could do better. So Apple is listening and they're overhauling a lot of what they were going to do originally. If you look at the side-by-side comparisons to the previous beta and then to the newest beta, you could see that Apple is definitely trying to make things feel different so that way people don't feel iOS 15 is as good. Number two, and I also believe this, the feedback that people were getting from the betas were just not that good. So I think Apple changing this goes again listening, but then looking at it all along, taking a look at several apps, we can see that Apple is trying to up their game as well. If you guys have seen with Android 12, things are only gonna get tougher and Apple is still miles behind. Sure, their software is nice and smooth, yes it is nice, but Android 12 has just elevated things to a whole new caliber, and I feel that Apple is just not at that level. They've never been at that level. But the one thing that they've been able to do that has continued to make them go toe to toe is just the simple fact that they've able to make their interface smooth and polished and make everything look pretty. So I think that Apple really is trying to up their game. I feel that Apple is trying, but again, it doesn't no good if they're still behind from Android. Now, to the average and general people that use iOS devices, it's not gonna matter. But to the tech-savvy people like myself who have used Android and iOS back to back, I can tell you from preference, a lot of you guys that have used iOS and had no interest in Android, y'all are missing out a lot. And that whole notion that Android is not as good as iOS or, oh, it's an Android, it sucks, you gotta get that shit out of here. Excuse my language, but we're in 2021. That was 2012 philosophy. So get that out of the way, try an Android, and then you'll understand. But iOS 15 seems to be going through changes every day. And we don't know exactly what's going to happen at the final result. So I'm going to keep you guys up to date on iOS 15. I'll let you know if Apple continues to develop and tweak any more in the app. And of course, I'll let you know what's going on in time for the new iPhones. Alrighty, story number two, let's continue the momentum with the iPhone 13 with Touch ID. According to Mark Gurman, he says that according to several internal sources, Apple was testing the new iPhone 13 with an in-display fingerprint scanner. And while they did use it and they did test it, it isn't obviously making the cut. It says here, according to Gurman, that Apple's all in on Face ID as for the higher end iPhones, and its long-term goal is to implement Face ID into the display itself. So similar to the under-display camera technology, Apple is trying to figure out a way to work on under-display Face ID, which I think would be awesome, but even then, Apple's not even at that caliber either. And looking at the whole, it makes you wonder, why are they experimenting with Touch ID if they're all in on Face ID? Well, it's simple. Apple still likes Touch ID. Whether anybody will admit it or not, Apple has preferred Touch ID over Face ID. It is a fact. Look at the iPad Air. They could have put Face ID in that product, but instead they opted for Touch ID on the home button, which has opened the doors to better products with this implementation. Look at the iPhone SE. They took the iPhone 8 design and kept Touch ID. Even with the newer models coming, they're gonna keep Touch ID. If we take a look at the Macs, all come with Touch ID now, with the exception of probably a starter, but honestly no, all Macs come with Touch ID. And look at the new keyboard, Touch ID. Do you see what I'm saying? Even though Apple has gone all in on Face ID, they're still trying to keep the flow going with Touch ID because they still believe in it and they do want it in their iPhones. The question really comes now is, are they gonna do it? And the short answer is no. They've killed themselves in the foot with their marketing going all in on Face ID, but that doesn't mean that they can't do it for other products. And I have a strange feeling that in the future, eventually, once they get to that full screen display, whatever, something tells me they will eventually make the switch back to Touch ID with Face ID. I don't know. Let me hear your thoughts about that one. And now let's get over to the iPad. Alrighty, next story, the 9th generation iPad. Now, Apple has really had the best home run with tablets, from the 7th generation iPad to the 8th generation iPad, and even to the 6th generation iPad. Their iPads have continued to deliver an exceptional experience for consumers, the budget end, the mini, the Pro, everything. But focusing on the budget end tablet, which is what I referenced before, it seems that Apple is going to continue with this by now making a 9th generation iPad with a faster processor, which is obviously expected, but with an even thinner design. According to several news outlets, it seems that this new iPad, whatever Apple's gonna do with this iPad, obviously it will have a faster and more powerful A12 Bionic chip, faster than that, but they're saying that the design profile is going to mirror the iPad Air. No, not the new iPad Air, the previous iPad Air, which took the design of the iPad Pro. So it seems that Apple is still going to continue to evolve that tablet, and they're still saving money by pricing it at $329. I'm gonna tell you this, guys, right now. If you don't have an iPad, and if you're looking to buy it on an iPad, this is the perfect time. Every year Apple makes a new iPad, it gets better and it gets smoother and it gets even more crazier. For $330, you're getting probably the best budget iPad, but not even budget anymore. You're getting the best iPad that money can buy you, unless of course you go to the Pro and Pro Max. But the point is, Apple is going all in on their lower end products because I do believe they've seen the market shift. They're working with their customers that will continue to purchase, and with education discounts and college students still going back to school, they're gonna keep at that market, and I think we're gonna see more momentum shift in the iPad department, and even the mini, which we've heard a report of a redesign, but we'll get there when the time comes to cross that. And last story, the final story, let's talk about the M1X Macs. Now, as you know, in November, we are expected to see the MacBook Pro with the M1X series chips and coming in a 14 and 16 inch. By the way, I am considering the 14 inch M1X MacBook Pro, so I'm just putting that out there. So I probably will probably get that. But it looks like Apple has something else up their sleeves. According to Mark Gurman, Apple is expected to launch a new high-end Mac Mini. According to Gurman, it says here that Apple is still continuing their process of transitioning from Apple Silicon and Intel. It seems that the Mac Mini has been more of a basic task kind of machine, but many people have used this machine as a development machine for not just engineers, but also for developers, video editors, etc. And it seems that there is a more niche market starting to evolve more into a want kind of consumer that wants higher end power. and it looks like Apple is going to deliver within the next several months, according to Gurman, with a new M1X Mac Mini. Now, this would be the perfect mini display if you are a content creator, if you don't want a laptop, and you want something plugged in full times. Now, for me personally, I was actually going to consider the Mac Mini, but after seeing that I use a laptop every day, I think I'd just rather have my Mac on the go because I can still plug it in and use it regardless. But one of the things that Gurman iterates with this Mac Mini is that the niche market is evolving. This niche market of people that want higher end performance than what the M1 is doing for the Mac Mini is expanding. So it seems like Apple is considering that, but lastly, they are also considering extra ports. Now, if you know, the previous refresh design of the Mac Mini had a nice array of ports. The second generation with the M1 took away a few of those ports. So we can see some new ports coming in, and then of course the M1X. I honestly am very excited with Apple and their progress going forward because I really do like their M series chips, and seeing how smooth and the transition is, I can only imagine what software support is going to look like at the end of the day. I honestly don't even know what they're capable of. So let me hear your thoughts down below. What do you think of Apple going fully all in on their models with the M1X? And that's it for today's episode of Technoid. Now guys, really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit the like button. If you disliked the video, you can hit the dislike button. That helps circulate my views as well. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next episode. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Take care, stay safe, and peace!